No, because we ran out of time.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the June 26, 2018 meeting of the Board of Education. I'm Kate Borninski, and I hope that everyone has a great start to the summer. I would like to welcome my fellow board members and ask them to introduce themselves starting on my left.
Good afternoon, or good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming out. My name's Doug Brooks.
Patty McCoy, thank you for being here.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Kim Crouch. Thanks for coming out.
Good evening. I'm Anupam Chugsidhu. Thanks for being here.
And I'm Patricia Mullen. Welcome.
Ms. Merritt, would you like to introduce your staff?
Yes, good evening, and I love to see such participation this evening in the audience and late summer night. So that's great. Welcome. I'd like to begin introducing my assistant, Elizabeth Adams, as well as Charlie Jones, the man behind the scenes who tapes our videos so that people that are not able to be with us can benefit from the experience tonight. I'd like the rest of my staff to begin with Pam, her last official meeting with us today. Pam?
Yep. Pam Yancey, I'm Interim Chief Finance and Operations Officer.
Good evening. Welcome, everyone. Liz Vartanian-Gibbs, Assistant Superintendent, Human Resources.
Good evening. I'm Mike Bender. I'm the Chief Academic Officer.
And hi, everyone. Nick Brandon, Director of Communications. Welcome.
Could everyone please stand for the pledge? And I'm wondering if Dalton and Corin could do the pledge for us. Will you lead us?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first item on our agenda is the adoption of the agenda and approval of the consent agenda. Action item 1806-150. Do I have a motion on this, please?
Madam President, I make a motion to adopt the agenda approval of the consent agenda, action item number 18-06-150.
Support.
The motion was made by Member Sidhu and supported by Member Brooks. Is there any discussion on this? Okay. Hearing none, Ms. Merritt, would you like to take us through the consent agenda, please?
Yes, thank you. This evening, the consent agenda consists of human resources transactions since our last time together. We have new hires. We are still hiring champions in preparation for the start of the year. We have resignations and retirements. We have administrative replacements, welcoming the new principal of Isbister Elementary School, as well as the director of high school education. We have the approval of minutes from our meeting on June the 12th, 2018. An out-of-country field trip for your consideration this evening, as well as an action item. This is a resolution for Michigan High School Athletic Association. This is our membership from August 1st through July 31st, 2019.
Okay. I did want to mention that we have a couple of people retiring who will be a huge loss to the district, including Vicki Amore. Oh, she's not retiring. I'm sorry. She's resigned. And also Pam, who is retiring, Pam Yancey. So they are a big loss to our finance and operations department.
Yes, they are.
At this time, I would like to take a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Okay, at this time, I would like to welcome Shannon Williams. Shannon, if you could come up, please. So we met Shannon Williams at the Michigan State University Job Fair when we attended that back in the spring. Shannon comes to us from Michigan State University. She is going to be teaching at West Middle School Language Arts. When I called Shannon to offer her the position, she was beyond thrilled, excited, and I loved what she said to me. She asked questions for her dad, and I know her dad's in the audience, but her dad had lots of questions about her first job. And so I said, Shannon, do not worry. This is exactly how my dad was. And I helped Shannon, sent her dad the contract so he could read it. And it was just, she was just beyond thrilled. So Shannon, welcome. We're so happy to have you. And I know you're going to have a wonderful experience at West Middle School. So welcome.
Welcome aboard.
Thanks for joining us. Congratulations. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Welcome, Shannon. We're so glad to
Thank
have
you
you.
so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
So next, I'd like to recognize some wonderful people who have worked in our district for years. First, Vicki Amore. She has been with us for 6 years, and we'd like to wish her well as she moves on to a different position here in the state of Michigan. We also would like to say thank you to Michelle Smuziak, who has been teaching in our district for 24 years. Laura Baghdadi is retiring after 32 years. She is a teacher consultant at East Middle School and the Starkweather Academy. Janice Davison has been an art teacher elementary in our school district for 20 years, and Catherine Mast has been teaching science at Canton High School for 21 years. So congratulations to all of our employees who are moving on to a different journey in life. Next, I would like to introduce the new principal of Isbister Elementary School, Emily Hawthorne. Come on up. Welcome, Emily. So Emily comes to us with a bachelor's degree from Eastern Michigan University, a master's degree in educational leadership from Eastern Michigan University. She has been a middle school science teacher, an elementary teacher, an administrative intern, an intervention specialist, and an elementary principal. And Emily is ready to begin working at Isbister Elementary School, and we are thrilled to have her. So welcome, Emily.
Thank you.
Do you have a few things you'd like to share with us?
Absolutely. So thank you, everyone. I'm honored to return here to Plymouth Canton Community Schools, where I was a student, K-12, and I'm excited to get to know my staff, my students, my families, and get to work.
Great. Welcome, Emily.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Emily. Absolutely.
Thank you.
We need to have some kind of review policy. Because we're talking to do it.
So next, I would like to introduce to all of you Mr. Hal Hurd. He is not here, but I have a lot to share. Hal currently is at the Conference for the International Society for Technology in Education. He is with a group of educators from our district right now: Heather Duff, Noah Slater, Jeff Blakesley, and Montine Barbie. We are recommending Hal for the position of Director of High School Education. Hal comes to us with a bachelor's degree from Mississippi Valley State University and a master's degree from Western Michigan University. He is a graduate of Canton High School, and what a wonderful experience for him. He was able to return as the principal of Canton High School. His whole focus is student-centered leadership. He's also been the principal of Romulus High School, the assistant principal at Birmingham Covington School, an athletic director, and a teacher. Something that I thought was very unique about Hal that I thought everyone would want to know is he was the founder and president of an organization called The Next 4 Years. It is a nonprofit organization, and it was established to help high school age students in an effort to encourage enrollment in the college or university of their choice. The organization helps students prepare for college through providing scholarships, opportunities, establishing connection between university personnel, enrollment requirements, and assists students through application process, internships, test preparation, and funding for college. We are very fortunate to recommend Hal as the Director of High School Education. I told Hal we would text him once the board approves.
Tweet it.
Tweet it, whatever we
He's
need
on
to do.
Twitter right now.
Yeah, oh, he's on, okay, great. Anupam, you can do that then, okay.
Thank you. Now we are at letter B of our agenda, which is celebrating success, everybody's favorite. Tonight, Member Mullen will be presenting the STARS Award for high school students earning the Student Citizenship Awards scholarship sponsored by the Plymouth and Canton Chambers of Commerce.
And it truly is an honor to present this award tonight. Celebrating success this evening, we'll present 3 Canton High School students and 1 Salem High School student with STARS Awards for earning Student Citizenship Award scholarships sponsored by the Plymouth and Canton Chambers of Commerce. At this time, we would like to invite Wes Graff, President of the Plymouth Community Chamber of Commerce, Thomas Payton, President of the Canton Chamber of Commerce, and the 4 student award winners up to the podium. Great. Let me just get. Oh, we don't have Thomas. Okay. Okay. Fantastic. Hey. Thank you. Thomas is not here. Wes, would you like to say a few words?
Each year, we are fortunate, Thomas sends his regards. Each year, we are pleased to offer students a scholarship that rewards them for their volunteerism during high school. The awards are supported by our business community. This year, each of our students are receiving $16,070 for some pretty amazing work that they did during high school. And so what I want to do tonight, we have three of them here with us, is take just a quick second and have each one tell you the thing that sticks out from them about their volunteerism. And the numbers and the hours were incredible. I mean, there were hundreds and hundreds of hours these folks put in. So I'm going to start off, and I'm going to have Matthew Molassa come up for just a quick second. Tell us your highlight from volunteering.
Okay, so my highlight from volunteering was probably my Eagle Scout project. Over the years, I've been in Boy Scouts or in scouting for most of my life. I've participated in community service, but just in 10th grade and 11th grade, I organized my own Eagle Scout project, which was a long process, but really rewarding in the end. I oversaw the fundraising, planning, and the overall process for constructing furniture for First Step, which is a home for domestic abuse victims. It's a temporary shelter for them to transition from rough situations to a better life with their children. So that was a really rewarding experience for me, and it took a lot of work. It took a lot of time, and it's probably my highlight of volunteering and service.
Thank you. Now I'm going to have Olivia Paul come up. Olivia?
Hello. So my highlight for me during my high school career, last year I was president of the P-CCS Rotary Interact Club, and each year we hold a Peace Summit, and for the past 2 years under my leadership and our board's leadership, we had been working on a project to raise money for a school in Ghana. And this year we actually started to raise money. We're still working toward our $15,000 goal, but we were able to raise significant portions. And last year we started a pen pal chain between us, the students who participated in Peace Summit, and the students in Ghana. And we actually received our letters back this year. And it was amazing to see how much of an impact we've had on their lives, because the school is built, and now we're starting to ship over supplies to them to help them in their day-to-day school years. Yeah.
And then also with us is Aman Rahman.
So for me, I think the thing that is coolest about the volunteer work that I've been able to do is that everything has kind of come full circle for me. So especially with the YMCA work, I just came from coaching T-ball. And 15 years ago, I was one of the T-ball players getting coached by people like me. So pretty much since I was maybe 3 or 4, I've done something with the YMCA every year. And then as I got older, that manifested itself by me being on the other side, where I'm coaching and volunteering and getting to do all these things. So we've been able to make cards for people in hospice and elderly homes. We've been able to just teach boys a lot of lessons about how to be better people, and maybe even some t-ball techniques. So for me, that's the coolest thing, the fact that I used to be that little kid, even all the way up until 5th grade, and then I got to start doing stuff on the other side of it. So for me, the fact that everything's kind of come full circle is the biggest thing for me. So thank you.
Thank you all so much. Our missing recipient tonight is Yamini Pandy, so I want to be sure her name is mentioned. Okay, so on behalf of the Board of Education, I would like to present Olivia Paul, Matthew Maliassi, and Aman Rahman with the STARS Award. Congratulations. And if you would please, since you've already spoken, go on around and be congratulated by everyone here present.
Nice job. Good job. Thank you. Thank you so much. Good job.
Thank you so much for your Keep up the great work. Wonderful work. Thank you so much. Congratulations. Keep up the great work. Congratulations. Thank you for your work.
I know Nickel wanted to. Aman? Okay, so thank you all very much.
And now we have a special guest tonight from the American Red Cross, Diane Risco.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. I handle blood drives. I set up for Novi, Northville, Plymouth, and Canton, which I'm so pleased to have had this territory for about 10 years. And what we do especially helpful with our help from the schools is set up blood drives from elementary schools all the way through the high schools. And what we'll do in the elementary schools is teach children how they can be a pint-sized hero, let them know about the facts on their level, why we need blood, get their parents to come on in, bribe them with a gift. This year was a nice ribbon like the Olympics with a medal. And we then go to the middle schools, which Liberty rules. Liberty runs the best blood drives. And then we get to the high schools, which can be a little bit challenging because of having the 3 schools and getting the students running back and forth school to school and taking an hour out of that day as well to donate blood. So that creates a little bit of a challenge for us. But I do have an award I'd like to present to Dr. Merritt. That this past year through 2017, we were able to go ahead and touch, by all the pints of blood that were donated through the schools, 633 lives. Wow. So 633 lives that, as I tell the kids when I speak to them, especially the kids in elementary, and I talk about, if you like math and you like science, help us duplicate blood. Because our chief medical director said it's not going to happen in my lifetime, but hopefully in their lifetime, we'll have something that will go ahead and hold people over until we can give them the real thing, because we can't go to Costco and buy a pint of blood. So we need to go ahead and have healthy adults come forth and help save lives. And now as we go into emergency appeal for the entire summer, starting with the July 4th holiday, we lose 20% of our donor base. That's our high school students and college students. Accidents go up. Cancer patients don't get the summer off. So again, we appreciate all the good work. We're looking forward to working with more schools this next school year to go ahead and increase that volume. And we've already proven that children starting in the elementary schools have now gotten to the high schools, and after being at blood drives with their parents and grandparents, it's not foreign to them. They're likely, if they can, they're going to attempt to donate blood. So it's a lifetime of saving lives. So we thank you so much. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, can you go around?
Could you,
Can you go around?
we'd all like to shake your hand.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all. You again.
Yes.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Congratulations on your retirement.
Look at her ignore you. Maybe you should go around and shake everybody's hand too, since you got the award.
Well, on that lovely note, we are now at board committee reports, which is C on our agenda. First up is the president's report. I just wanted to mention the Starkweather graduation which Member Brooks and I were able to attend, and it's always a lovely ceremony, very moving, and just a wonderful time. So thank you to Starkweather for inviting us. Member Brooks and I also had, we completed our Leadership Canton classes together, and the graduation for that was last week also. And it was a really, I think a really interesting class. I think I've mentioned before, I wasn't sure I was going to like it at first, but I did, and I'm glad I did it. So shout out to Canton Chamber and Canton Township for a wonderful time with Leadership Canton. Okay, next up is Student Performance and Achievement Committee with members seated.
We have not met since our last meeting, and we'll be coordinating a schedule for the 2018-19 school year, and we'll publish that as soon as we have that schedule together, probably in the next couple of weeks.
Okay, and next up is the Policy Committee with Member Crouch.
So we haven't met since our last meeting, but we are scheduled to meet tomorrow at 5:30 here in the board office. And since I had a little bit of free time last week, I decided to drop by the Finance and Operations subcommittee meeting, because for those of you who watch these meetings frequently, you know that we always have this debate between which meeting is more fun. Is it policy or is it F&O? But all of us know that it's policy. But I decided to just kind of stop by to kind of see what type of fun the committee really has. And I have to say, quite honestly, they did have a lot of fun. It's a great meeting. And I just wanted to show you a picture of some of the fun. Right, so just tell Pat. That's just how
You're
much
so
fun
funny, Kim.
in there. But no, honestly, I do want to say, really, 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 if you've never been to a finance and operations meeting, they do really talk about a lot of good stuff. And so I would encourage people to attend that meeting as well. One of the things that we are going to talk about on a more serious note tomorrow at our policy meeting is it's all going to be all about mental health. There's a lot of stuff happening with mental health and youth, and one of the things that we are going to be looking at in the policy committee tomorrow is really having an in-depth discussion about how the district is supporting our students with mental health issues and how we can do more as a district to do that. So while we had some fun in F&O, we're going to be talking about some pretty serious things tomorrow. And so I certainly would encourage anyone in the community who's interested to certainly attend the meeting. Again, it's tomorrow here at the board office at 5:30.
Thank you. And next up is Finance and Operations Committee. Member Kehoe is not here tonight. Member McCoyne, do you have anything to report?
So we met last Thursday. We started at 4 and we went till a little after 6. We did not get through our entire agenda because we had a meeting scheduled at 6. So we will be scheduling another exciting meeting to get through the rest of that agenda. So some of the things that we talked about, the budget and the safety and security, we'll see tonight. It was bittersweet because it was Pam and Vicky's last meeting with us. And so even though you keep mentioning it, Liz keeps ignoring you, I have heard you, and I got you some candy because we so appreciate you. And so we really do appreciate the work that you and Vicky have done over the past several years. And we will really miss you. So thank you so much. What?
I want to reiterate what Member McCoyne said. It's going to be a huge loss to the district, but we're looking forward to working with Debbie and moving forward with our sadness. Next up is citizens' comments. I did receive 2 cards from people who wish to speak. Is there anyone else who would like to speak tonight? Okay. Just as a reminder, you get 3 minutes to speak, and Mr. Brandon will be timing you. I think he's about ready. Are you set up?
They can start.
Okay. So I don't know who was first, so I'm just going to call on Dalton because your last name starts with B.
Okay. Thank you for allowing me to speak again. I just came from a set building session, so again, I apologize for my informality. Again, I mean this with total respect, everything that I'm about to say, and I have a lot of respect for everybody here. I would like to mention first that there are high schools that have, I will be talking about arts funding and management again, just to be clear. There are high schools that have just recently done their theaters over again within the past 20 years. There's Saline District, Milan, Ann Arbor, including Pioneer and Skyline High Schools, the Kappa program in Livonia, Novi, Farmington Hills, South Lyon area, and Walled Lake Central / the Walled Lake area are just a few schools with renovated or new theaters within the past 20 years. Salem High School, to my knowledge, is going to be 49 years old this year. And we have yet to do a big renovation. And I really do think that that is needed because of the condition that at least the Gloria Logan is in. Many schools in surrounding districts have a scene shop where they build sets, and it is a very big area where they are able to build sets and provide for the community by putting on shows with extravagant sets, costume lofts, prop lofts, and very important to us at least is a green room. The green room is an area for the people using the theater to settle down, to be. Right now, we use the locker rooms as green rooms, and the scheduling is usually very not accustomed to us. There's a lot of, every time that we have done a spring musical, there is a swim practice going on or something. A few times our costumes have been ruined because of the swimmers and lack of consideration. And so a green room would be a very good place to provide for the actors, for the people renting our space, and something to take pride in. I really believe a theater renovation is something that the community will take pride in. And all these theaters that I've mentioned before are very beautiful. I've been to most of them, and they are just absolutely amazing. And so I believe it is right for Plymouth Canton to uphold that excellence. There are only 8 speakers in the Gloria Logan, I believe, 2 or 4 hanging up, and it gives a very obvious dead zone right in the center, so that is another thing. And the flooring is not very good as well. The carpet is very old and stained. There's not much consideration that goes into it, and Mr. Bird takes care of it as well as he can. And also there is very little storage in the theater. That is why I believe that a theater renovation would do the district good, it would do the school good, and I believe it would be a very good improvement. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, and next up is Corinne Marsh.
Hello, everyone. Thank you also for hearing me. Again, I really appreciate all of you just coming here, being here and listening to what we have to say. And I am here advocating for students who believe the P-CCS dress code is outdated and somewhat oppressive, as I talked about last time. And also, if you remember, Dalton, my friend who just spoke, last time we talked about how he broke the dress code for 23 days. Just as a reminder, he rolled up his shorts well above his fingertips, and he was never dress coded. And we saw girls being dress coded for the same thing or nearly the same thing during this time. And we took the advice of the board and went to our administrators, from who we found support for change. Ms. Villarosa, the principal at Salem, she approached me at the end of one of my last finals, and she wanted to talk to me about what I said at the last meeting. She wanted to hear what I had to say about it, and so she approached me, and we discussed. I told her, I summed up what I said last time, and she was very enthusiastic about trying to make a change for it. She is very here for trying to change the dress code. She believes it is outdated, a little, like she used the word traditional. And she also said, and I quote, "It's a pain in the neck." She talked to me about emailing her, and she is very much so here for changing the dress code. She would really like us to be able to do that. So she is in support of that. And also, Dalton and I, we had a meeting with Mr. Halherd, and where we talked about, we wanted to do the same things I talked to Ms. Villarosa about, because we wanted to reach out to all the administrators. And we discussed with him, and we will be forming a committee containing administrators, staff, students, and parents probably, to work on just trying to talk about a new dress code possibly for the next school year. We want to have a dress code ready by the first semester, so maybe it could possibly be reviewed or improved and possibly put in for second semester. That is a goal of ours. That's what we want to talk about. And we'll be having a survey. We'll be having a survey talking. We're going to send out to we're going to try to put on the internet, get a lot of kids outreach on social media, asking about what they think, what their opinions are on the dress code getting changed, so we can actually have statistics and data on it and just see what everybody's opinions, how they vary. And also on the committee, we want people to be able to, students, we're going to have, similar to how like Link Crew is the plan, is like an essay where you apply and talk about for what reason they want to be on the committee. And we want to have variation. We want to have different opinions. We want to have different groups of people, different just like not the same like friends or clique. We want to have a variety of people from PCCS is the plan, and a variety of ages, grades and stuff. And so we are doing that this summer for the 20. Oh. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. There you go.
Next on our agenda, we're at letter E, which is administrative reports and recommendations. And first up is the superintendent's report.
Thank you. And although I never miss an opportunity to brag about this amazing district, this evening I am actually going to give my time over to Frank Ruggiero and his team from Schoolcraft College. They are in, as a part of their election process, they're going to speak to us this evening about a special election for a Headley override. And we, being a component local school district of Schoolcraft, will give them this opportunity to just give factual information this evening. So, Mr. Ruggiero.
Good evening. Thank you. My name is Frank Ruggiero. I'm the Executive Director of Marketing Advancement at Schoolcraft College. This is John Lamb, our Finance Officer, and we know that you have a very packed agenda tonight, so we're going to go as briefly as we can for you this evening and get through this presentation. First of all, we're here to give you information only. The item on the agenda that that you'll be acting on tonight is strictly because you're one of our 5 school districts. It's just strictly to put the item on the ballot. Your voting yes tonight does not indicate support or non-support of the issue. Just the way the law is written, we have to ask each of our 5 school districts of their school boards to vote on it so that it could appear on the November ballot. So that's what we're here for tonight. While we're here as well, we want to give you a little bit of information about the ballot proposal. It is a Headley override, as Superintendent Merritt mentioned. And there are a few things in it that I think you'll find interesting. And of course, if you have questions after John and I will be able to answer those for you. But before we start the short video for you, I want to just tell you a little bit about, you may not even be aware of all the different places that our community college district and the school district connect. One of the documents that Nick is passing out to you tonight will show you some of the things. But some of the things I want to point out to you is that you may not know that more than 20% of your graduates from last year came over to Schoolcraft. And are succeeding and doing very well there. They were obviously got a great start here at Plymouth Canton, and they're doing well over at Schoolcraft. And some of them will go on to careers after Schoolcraft. Some of them will transfer on to four-year universities to finish a bachelor's degree or beyond. Also, it's important for you to know that 66 of your students this year were dual enrolled in college classes at Schoolcraft as well. And you should also be aware that we gave out over $164,000 worth of scholarships to your students over the last 2 years. Finally, over the last couple weeks, you may have seen this. Schoolcraft's culinary department is world-renowned, and obviously your program here has really made great strides over the last several years, and Diana Woodward actually studied at Schoolcraft as well. But we had a team that went over to Thailand to compete over, I guess it was early in June here. And 4 of the 5 members of the team were Plymouth Canton grads, and they actually finished the highest. They finished with gold medals. I can mention the names here. Paul D. Nicola, he was a 2015 graduate. Zachary Chardnard was a 14 graduate. Zachary Burnquist was a 2016 graduate. And Zachary Wolfs was a 2015 graduate. Lots of Zacharys, but all from Plymouth Canton. And ironically, in this competition, they were in Thailand preparing Thai food. And that's what the competition was. So it's a great credit to Schoolcraft, but also a great credit to Plymouth Canton and the program that you have here. So congratulations for that. Jeff, we're going to show a short video here. It's about 7 minutes long, and then we'll take any questions. Then we'll take off and let you get on with your meeting.
Hello, my name is Karen Chan, a former student and graduate at Schoolcraft College. My experience is probably like many others. It's where my education started and led me to a successful career. And if you live in the Schoolcraft district, you too have probably been impacted by Schoolcraft College.
Not sure how? Think about it. How many of you have been on campus for an event? Dined at the American Harvest restaurant or taken a continuing education class? Perhaps your family members, friends, or neighbors have attended Schoolcraft. Maybe you've gone to a local restaurant where the chef is a Schoolcraft grad. How about the nurse at your doctor's office? Or do you know a police or firefighter who graduated from our Public Safety Academy? Chances are they've attended Schoolcraft too. In fact, 93% of our students live and work in Michigan. You see, Schoolcraft College is truly a community asset. In fact, the community thinks so highly of the college that voters approved a millage back in 1986. But with the Headley Amendment rolling back the amount of tax that could be collected, Schoolcraft is receiving the same amount of funding as it did 12 years ago. Faced with these lower tax revenues, the college has embarked on a number of cost-saving and alternative revenue-generating initiatives to enable Schoolcraft to continue to keep tuition low, such as partnerships with Wayne State and other four-year universities to generate additional revenue, on-campus development projects financed by private investments that will result in alternative revenue in the future, and buyouts of faculty and staff in 2010, 2013, and 2017. Unfortunately, these measures weren't enough to offset the huge loss of property tax revenues, and the college operated with a $6 million deficit in fiscal year 2016 and a $7.3 million loss in 2017. We predict that this deficit will continue to grow in 2018. That's why the Schoolcraft College Board of Trustees approved placing a proposal on the November 6th ballot that asks voters to restore the college's original 1986 millage. If approved, voters would see a small increase in their annual property tax bill. For example, if you own a home in the district with a market value of $200,000, you would see an increase in property taxes of around $48 per year. That's only 13 cents a day. What will voters get for this small annual increase? The college would continue to keep tuition costs low, thereby reducing the number of loans area students would need to attend college. The additional funds will enable the college to expand its career and technical education programs, including manufacturing and healthcare, giving students an avenue to prepare for one of many in-demand careers. The community will continue to have Schoolcraft College as both an educational and entertainment hub in the area. For example, nearly 23,000 community members enjoyed a continuing education and professional development class at Schoolcraft College last year. The Vista Tech Center is a prime meeting venue that attracts thousands of business and community members for seminars, meetings, and events. The award-winning American Harvest restaurant is a popular lunch and dinner destination and will continue to be able to offer its outstanding menu options prepared by students in our culinary arts program. And our variety of theatrical and musical productions are very popular with the community, something we can continue to offer free of charge or at minimal cost. Our campus also serves as a focal point for events like College Night, Manufacturing Day, Middle School Science Day, and Kids on Campus, providing K-12 students the chance to expand their science and technology knowledge and look at future career options and the educational programs available to reach their academic and career goals.
Hello, I'm Conway Jeffress, the president of Schoolcraft College. I'm asking you to vote on the Schoolcraft College ballot proposal on November 6th. Now, most people make decisions based on the things that they believe in. As you contemplate your decision, I'd like to ask you a few questions. Do you believe that education opens the door to good jobs? Do you believe that education should be affordable so that everyone can participate if they choose to do so? Do you believe that a strong community college increases the value of your home? Do you believe that Schoolcraft College is an economic driver in our community that stimulates businesses? If you ask yourself these questions, I'm confident that you'll make the right decision at the voting booth or on your absentee ballot. I want to thank you for watching, and please remember, November 6th.
Before I ask if you have any questions, it's important for you to note that the narrator, Karen Chan, is also a Plymouth Canton graduate, so we won't be telling the other school districts that, but see all the connections here. Does anyone have any questions for us? If not, we can sure.
Member Mullen.
I've had it explained to me, but I know I'm not the only person in the room or watching. Can you go over what the Headley Amendment is or was or is about?
Yeah, so that's a great question. The Headley Amendment was enacted several years ago, and basically what it did was it caps the amount that your property tax value can go up by the rate of inflation or 5%, whichever's lower. Headley was enacted under a misguided premise that the value of your home would always go up. And what happened in 2008? The value of your house went down significantly, in a lot of cases 50%. So we lost 50% of our taxable value in 1 year, but year over year you can only recuperate the rate of inflation or 5%, whatever is less. So really the magnitude of the issue began in 2008 when property values plummeted, and now they're recuperating very, very slowly at a much slower rate than what they lost. So actually today we're collecting the same amount of taxes that we got in about 2006, 2007 timeframe. But if you think about it, expenses never go down. So over that same time frame, if you look at CPI in Michigan, it's gone up about 21%. So, you know, we've been faced with collecting lower dollars every single year from 2009 through today, with expenditures continually rising. But to answer your question, yeah, Headley, it's a measure to protect the homeowner from their property tax value increasing at inordinate rates, but it does the opposite effect when taxable values go down.
Any other questions? Okay. Member Mullen, did you want to make a statement?
Yes. Before we vote on this, I would like to recuse myself from anything regarding Schoolcraft College for potential conflict of interest.
Thank you. Okay, so we have an action item 1806-151 before us. Consider approval of resolution regarding Schoolcraft Community College District ballot proposal. It's a first and final reading. As a reminder, this vote is just to put this proposal on the ballot. It does not indicate if you would be voting for or against the proposal. Could I have a motion on this, please?
Madam President, I make a motion to accept the action item number 18-06-151 to consider the approval of resolution regarding Schoolcraft Community College District ballot proposal, first and final reading.
Support.
The motion was made by Member Sudo and supported by Member Brooks. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
5-0.
5-0 with me recused.
Oh, that's right. 5-0 with one abstention. And next up is Finance and Operations. Ms. Anstey. We have some action items before us, actually quite a few, coming out of Finance and Operations. Unfortunately, Patrick's not here tonight, so I'm going to ask Member McCoyne to help us out if we need it.
Okay.
First action item is 1608-152, and it's consider approval of the 2017-2018 final budget amendment. It's another final reading. And if I'm not mistaken, this is something that we do periodically throughout the school year
Twice
to
a
keep,
year.
to keep us in line with state law. Okay. Does anyone have? Actually, let's get a motion on the floor about this. Could I have a motion?
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to accept action item 1806-151. Consider approval. Is that the right one? Oh, no. It's 1608-152 to consider approval of the 2017-2018 final budget amendment, final reading.
Support.
Yeah, we need to revise our action item numbers for the next few.
18.
I think the 8 and the 6 were turned around.
Oh, yeah.
Which one are you
yeah.
talking about?
Let me read it again.
First one.
Oh, the action number's wrong?
Yeah.
That should be 1806.
Yeah, it should be 1806.
Can we just write on them and adjust
Yeah.
them?
Yeah. It's just
So
those
it's
two.
just these two, it looks like.
Yeah, it's just those two.
Okay. So, Member Brooks, you made a motion. Could you restate
reread
it,
it.
please,
Okay.
with the action item 1806-152?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion for action item 1806-152 to consider approval of the 2017-2018 final budget amendment, final reading.
Support. I believe you said 1806, and that's reading 08. That's the correction.
That's what we
Correction
just,
is- okay, excuse me,
yeah.
I just got
The 8 and the 6 were
Yes.
reversed. Okay. So, the motion was made by Member Brooks, and Member Mullen, did you support that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Is there discussion on this? Okay. All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, motion passes 6-0, unless there was anyone dissenting. No. Okay, next up, we are considering the approval to adopt the 2018-2019 budget for general operating funds and other funds. It's another final reading, and the action item number is 1806-153. Member McCoy, do you have anything to?
We have gone over the budget already.
Yes, and we had our budget hearing
We had
2
our
weeks
budget
ago.
hearing 2 weeks ago, and this is Pam's last lovely budget.
Okay. Could I have a motion, please, on this?
Yeah, Madam President, I'd like to make a motion on action item 1806-153. Consider approval to adopt the 2018-2019 budget for general operations funds and other funds. Final reading.
Support.
Okay, motion made by Member Brooks and supported by Member Mullen. All in favor? Oh, is there any discussion? Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself as usual. Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Okay. Now we have a series of first readings. The first one is consider approval to award contracts for bid pack 13, district-wide security upgrades, project upgrade, bid security cameras, and replace PSEP security cameras and upgrade the network for security camera system. And this is coming out of the 2013-2015 bond project funds. Again, it's a first reading. Do we have any discussion on this? Yes,
I
member.
have questions.
Okay. Do we want Pam to introduce first before we get into questions?
I did go to the meeting. I still have questions.
Okay, we're going to have Ms. Anstey go through it first, briefly.
Okay. As was said, we did review this at F&O. This is the security package that we had brought originally in October. Oh, it's not working? That we had brought in October to review with you to enable us to design and then go out for bid. So we've designed it, we've gone out for bid. What you have in front of you is the budget, but there are multiple pieces to this budget. So part one is the bid package 13, and this is the district-wide security package that we talked about, was designed and what was bid. Part two is an upgrade, and it upgrades the bid security cameras and replace PSEP security cameras. What this is to get the functionality that after long discussions and reviews with all the principals and the schools and the stakeholders, we need to upgrade the cameras that we originally went for bid for. And to get the same functionality at the high school, we really need to replace the cameras. So in the original bid or proposal, we weren't going to replace the high school cameras, but that probably is the most important place to have the security system. So we are also including replacing the security cameras at the high school. And then we have part three, which is upgrade the network for security camera system. And this is something that our tech department would like, and that is just to relocate some of the infrastructure to get it in place and where they want it. So the budget is a total of $3,492,957, and we're proposing taking this out of the 2013 and 15 bond projects. We discussed it in the 2013 bond project. There's approximately $3.5 million left of infrastructure technology. Because it started in 2013 and now we're 5 years in, infrastructure requires a 10-year useful life, and we weren't previously able to use it for security and technology that had less than a 10-year useful life. But now, because we're 5 years into the bond, we can, and we're proposing using the residual that was left from savings of building our infrastructure in the district to put that towards the security system. And then the remainder would come from the 2015 bond. So I didn't get to talk you through the amendment, but in the amendment, that 1.5 was adjusted and the budget was removed from the 17-18 budget. If we were to go forward with this funding, then in the 18-19 budget, we wouldn't assign the 1.5 million out of the general fund. We would preserve that for instruction and academic programming. I have the team here tonight. We have Bill from TMP, Doug and Brian from McCarthy Smith that can walk you through and answer any questions you might have about the details of the package.
Before asking them to come up, I want to share also, when we initially had our discussion on October the 10th, I think we were looking through two lenses. One was a financial. I think I had a lot of sticker shock. We were originally looking at just the cost of cameras, and we were proposing that that was going to be about a $960,000 spend. Those were without soft cost. By the time we brought the full package to you, I think we were looking at about a $5.5 million spend. And so in this conversation and doing the due diligence and going out for design, we have some savings and identified alternative ways of funding through bond work that's allowable bond funds, so that we don't have to impact the general fund. But the other conversation besides financial, I think, was a philosophical discussion that we were having and some concerns that board members were raising just about the use of cameras and privacy rights for students. So we want to be able to address those concerns as well. We had that conversation initially, but just walk through the various components. One thing I will say is in all of our communications, especially when we have situations involving threats or vandalisms at the park or at any of our schools, we always say safety of our students and our staff is our #1 priority. And so when you think about that statement, this is really investing in a preventative measure or a support tool that will help us to ensure that our school grounds are safe. We've talked in the past about the current use of security cameras here in our school district. This is not new. All of our high schools at the park have security cameras. Our brand new middle school, Liberty, is equipped with security cameras. Even our younger students that are riders, all of our school buses have security cameras on there. With those, the use of security cameras, it's not for criminalizing kids, which I know has been a concern, but really as a preventative measure, and it also helps us in investigations when something has occurred. So with the best laid plans, students still make choices, and it allows us to really get to the bottom of what is going on. When we're looking at this proposal, it really is through a lens of equity to make sure that when we say that this is a safe measure for our high school and middle school, that all of our K-12 environment should be equipped with this same structure. When we look at our visitors and the ability to monitor our visitors as we come in, there's two components of this security program. One would be the security cameras that would be in place at the front door that would allow our staff to be able to engage with visitors and making sure that they come to the proper location and are properly vetted before they get into the buildings, and this still allows our students to roam through the buildings freely. There's also the conversation around sally ports in this security package, and if you recall, in October 10th, we talked about these sally ports. They were a part of the original 2013 bond, am I correct with that?
Yes.
As a promise of to our voters that we were going to secure areas that would be secured entries to many of our buildings. Now 6 of our buildings, the structure of the buildings themselves do not allow for sally ports. But this sally port design by its nature will allow, once the person is buzzed into the building, they must go into the main office before gaining access to the remainder of the building. Now at that time with projects, we eliminated and put that as an alternate, so we didn't move forward in 2013. Many of our families, I believe we actually heard at the board meetings, families from Smith that thought, oh, we voted on this bond really thinking that this sally port was going to be a reality. So we thought it was very important when we were looking at this full comprehensive system to revisit on that promise. And so what you will be considering also for the schools that are able by design to have this natural sally port as an additional preventative option that will give us the benefit of doing that. We initially, when we talked to you, we were looking at elementary schools. We worked with the security consultant, which is a specialist, as well as TMP, and as well as our district administrators on saying what is the best, most effective, efficient, comprehensive plan for our district. And in that conversation, we also looked at our high schools and having the ability to have sally ports installed in those areas as well. So that is a part of the package. Another part for your consideration was the card reader or swipe card access. And this is something I will say our staff is very eager to have. We have a lot of keys out in our district. And when we think about our elementary schools, for example, we have recess twice a day and our staff is out on the playgrounds. Oftentimes doors are propped if everyone doesn't have keys. And so we know that that is something that really compromises the safety of our building. So installing card readers will allow each of our staff members the ability to just use their ID card to gain access to the building. We can recoup the keys that we have, rekey all of the doors so that we can minimize additional people that are not supposed to have access to the building, that access. So we think that that's a very strong component of this project. We currently have swipe cards or card readers at our high schools. We have it at Liberty. So once again, it's an equity issue for our staff to have that access at all of our buildings. And there's finally a portion of the lighting that will allow for the lights to come on. So in the evening, for example, when we have our security camera that's running 24/7, the light sensors would come on if there's some motion. So that would help. One piece I wanted to bring up too, that's the work that was done around the security cameras themselves, and we can have TMP talk a little bit more about the details of the technology. We are chasing excellence. I often say when we look at our niche rating, Plymouth Canton Community Schools ranks number 7 for safety in the state of Michigan. We're very proud of that. There's over 550 school districts in the state of Michigan, but we're always chasing number 1. So we looked at this work to say, how can we get the best for our students? So a part of these cameras that we're recommending, they really have enhanced facial recognition. And so if you think about just the nature of our park, and students traveling from 3 buildings, if there is by any chance an intruder, which would be the worst case scenario, the technology that we're now proposing as a part of this package could identify this face, and you track this face across any place that this shows up in any of our cameras, or this shirt in red shirt, blue pants, and they would track that person. And I think that that's so important just to get specific, and it's always difficult, and I will say as we ask questions, we want to also make sure that we're talking about our security plan, so we can't give too much information. But I would say just the manpower and investigation, the man hours, and investigation that goes into certain situations when we're trying to track incidents within buildings. We could be there all day, and it's hard to identify 6,200 kids showing up on various cameras if you're looking to investigate a particular situation. So this advanced technology will really be beneficial, and research has shown with some of the school districts that it would really help us to determine that piece. One piece that I want to address, we addressed before, when we talk about the feelings of kids and behaviors. If you think about our cameras right now, when students are doing what they're supposed to do, they don't pay attention to cameras. All of us live in an environment right now where there's an expectation that we have cameras. It's a preventative measure. But we will say if a person is trying to make a poor choice, they think about those cameras because, I use the example of our food fights. Prior to having cameras at our park, they had food fights often. As soon as we've had the cameras installed, we no longer have food fights. So I think that's when we think about prevention, and it could be something that deters people from making maybe the possible choices. But in general, students are not impacted, or their behavior is not changing if they're not thinking of doing anything differently with the cameras. There was a question about our policies around cameras, and so we did share, we do have video surveillance policies in place, and that also authorizes the superintendent to write administrative guidelines. So as we've been in conversation earlier with our legal department, really looking as we expand the access to our surveillance system K-12 to make sure that we have very tight administrative guidelines around the use and who views, who has access. These are actually not internet-based, so you, with the software, you'd have to be given access in order to view the camera. So a lot of work that goes into making sure that we protect the privacy rights of our students and our staff. One thing that we have shared with the camera installation, there's no expectation of privacy in areas that cameras are installed. So you're looking at the outside of your buildings, you're looking at hallways, you're looking at common areas such as cafeterias, stairwells, but you're not looking at classroom scenarios. That's not what we would plan to equip our buildings with. So with that as kind of the background, we wanted to just remind some of the discussions that we've had, and then have our team available to begin to address some questions that you have in preparation for our final decision that we would ask for you to invest in the safety and security of our students moving forward at the July 10th.
Member Crouch.
Okay. So one thing that I will say as we move forward that doesn't really necessarily affect the cameras or the security purchase itself is that I probably will put back on the agenda for a future policy meeting to discuss the camera and the policies, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. Member McCoyne, sorry.
Okay, well, thank you. You answered some of my questions because I sent some of them earlier. So one of my questions is about, since you are in the process of hiring a director of security, should we be waiting for this until that person is onboarded? So that, because they're going to be responsible for this. And it feels like maybe they should have some input before we vote on it.
That's a great question. I would say the best way to answer this is when you're looking at a security, we're looking at systems. So our job in all of our seats is to put systems in place so that if anything happens to any of us and we move forward, the system continues. So this work was very intentional with getting our third-party consultant, which is a security consultant. That's their full-time job to understand. They do this for school districts, for churches, for businesses. So that's that work of the team, the experts, to say what is the best system that's in place, as well as working with TMP, our architects, our district administrators. As we're in process right now for the director of security, and that was actually something we shared where we are with this, and that was comforting to that person because there's a lot of work to be done. Number one priority is when we have this person in seat, we'll be looking at our training for our staff and our students. I'm looking at our emergency operating plans, and so having the ability not to have to deal with the design of a system is actually something that was comforting for them. When you think about the rollout of this, it will be throughout the school year before all systems are installed. And so this really gives the ability for the new director to come in and focus his or her attention on the work that needs to be done to identify what is our unified strategy, our approach, what training needs to take place for our staff so that we can hit the ground running and make sure that our staff and students feel secure in the event of a threat in terms of what it is that they need to do.
More questions?
Yeah. So I was good with the Sally ports because the parents in the 2013 bond heard that there would be Sally ports and they want the Sally ports. So that's good. Also, I like the idea of rekeying the doors so that there's only 1 or 2 keys per building hanging out there because I'm sure there's thousands at this point. And it would also help people after hours if they need access, they can go in. So I still have the concerns with the cameras and the privacy rights, but we'll deal with some of that in policy. And we'll be okay with it.
No, we'll look at it.
We'll look at it. Kim will help me. I do have a question about the motion sensors and the lights. Now, is that going to be an all-day thing, like at Workman, if you're like quiet in a classroom, the lights go out?
So I'm going to get some help with those questions.
Or is that just at night?
The motion sensors were actually a part of a state of Michigan energy basically policy. So a lot of the school district, or a lot of the buildings in the district, when you upgrade, you're required to put the light sensors in. So if a room's not occupied, the lights go off, and it's part of the energy savings. Part of what we're doing with the camera systems is it does stay on all the time. They're adjustable so that you can adjust the rate of time. So if a classroom could be 30 minutes, it could be 10 minutes, it could be whatever. The policy here, what we're doing here is trying to make sure the entire building has these sensors installed so that if someone were walking through the building, the cameras would be able to pick up who they are. Even though the cameras do have night vision, having the lights come on will be able to grab that person in the camera a lot easier. Other thing is if you do have someone coming in through classrooms, currently a lot of classrooms do not have sensors in them. So you can sort of see through the cameras where lights are coming on and off, and you can tell who or where they came into the building and follow the light progression as you're following the camera system. So the sensors are basically finishing finishing all the remaining light fixtures that do not have them today. Okay. So they're twofold.
Oh, good. And then my last question really here is about the Knox boxes. I don't really understand those. I wasn't real clear on who would have keys to those, like especially for schools, for instance, like Weston Bird, who sit right on the border between Plymouth and Plymouth Township, and East also sits on a border. So I just wasn't clear on if both municipalities' first responders would be able to enter the buildings should someone get there first, or if it was just that municipalities' first responders would have the ability to access the buildings or not. I just wasn't clear on that.
The Knox boxes, currently the district has agreements with the local emergency personnel.
Mm-hmm.
The emergency people have keys to your buildings
Right.
today. So part of the process that we're trying to do is once we take all the keys away from front doors and we're going to rekey the district, we have the opportunity to grab all those keys.
Mm.
The Knox box, you cannot get a key to the Knox box unless you're police or fire.
Right.
The Knox company is a specific, it's just a brand
Right,
name.
yeah.
So they've got strict guidelines as to who can access those, and that policy comes directly from the police and fire department, who works directly with the school district. So there's policies within the school district, or there should be policies, as they coordinate with emergency personnel, how those keys are obtained and who has them. So whether one municipality has them, if there's two municipalities, it's all part of the process of discussing with the local emergency personnel who gets them or who gets it first. You were correct, we did talk in the policy meeting, or in the F&O meeting, that it is a universal key, so that if the fire department, if there were multiple buildings, this building had one, the building across the street had one, it's a universal key for the fire department. And basically what it allows them to do is after hours, they can come in, grab the key out of that box, and get into the building without having to do damage or destruction. So you could have a small fire from a piece of equipment, it could be smoke, but in order for them to get in after hours, if they're not waiting for someone with a key, they would come through a window, break the door down, do whatever. So it's property damage piece too. There is the ability to put card swipes in these devices. Again, there'll be a key and a card swipe because the card swipes won't work
But
with the
yeah, I
electrical.
thought the issue with the card swipes was that if there's no power,
Correct,
the card swipe won't open the door.
correct.
And then
So-
how do you get the key, like once somebody's accessed the building, how do you make sure you get your key back?
Again, this is all controlled through the fire department or the police department. So the relationship between that person and whomever is responsible for them in the district, that would just be part of that. If someone breaks, if they have to get into your building because there's a fire, someone with the district of authority is going to be joining them at some point. So that process, I would assume, you would be able to, Kurt, would be, getting that key back. Or actually the fire department, police department, whoever it is, it would probably reset that box.
Oh, okay.
And, Kurt, you may want to share just our current buildings.
Yeah, currently we have buildings in the district that do have lock boxes now. I believe as the newer buildings came on board, they were equipped with lock boxes.
I think that the point that Bill made is so important. It's something that Kurt shared with me as well. When we think about, so the responder would be based on the municipality of the school, but if there's a situation where someone comes, they're not going to wait to waste time. If there's an emergency, they'll get in that building.
Yeah.
And so that's nothing that will slow them down in terms of waiting, but it would be a way to prevent further damage. But they will get in if they need to get into that building.
Other questions?
I think I'm done for right now.
Member Mullen?
Thank you. Thank you all. Couple questions relating to the cameras, and I see that we have a 5-year warranty with the cameras. Who's maintaining the cameras? Is that us or the company that we're purchasing them from? Where's the maintenance happening in all of this?
The maintenance piece is really just daily operation, will be through the school district.
Okay.
Right now, it would be through Mark's office and probably the new security director. But anything that's happening, that 5 years covers all software updates, Anything happens with a camera, the camera's replaced. Anything happens with the server's replaced. So you basically have a 5-year warranty, you know, bumper to bumper, that they replace all the equipment should something happen to it. Contractor warranty is for 2 years, so anything on the install piece, we've got 2 years. If there's something defective or something happens with the installation, the contractor, Siemens, would be the call to come out. During that process, the manufacturer is also involved with Siemens. So, like I said, any software updates, any changes, camera problems would all be handled through for 5 years through the manufacturer.
Okay, and what's the expected lifespan of the cameras? 5 years or,
Well,
or beyond?
right now, the lifespan of the cameras, typically, they want to say that they're lasting about 5 years.
Okay.
Now, the cameras at the park were 3-year warranties. However, they've been in there for 6 years.
Okay.
So, again, it's kind of like any piece of equipment that you buy. They say that we'll warrant a piece of equipment. We know and have tested it for many longer years, but they give basically a timeline saying they're typically 5-year warranty, 5-year cameras.
Okay, so to the budget piece, Pam, you were talking about we're purchasing them now because where we are in this particular bond window. So do we need to be preparing 5 years from now? This is a big chunk of change. How do we prepare for 5 years when we have to replace? Are we going to, you guys are all great about having these rolling plans, which I think is wonderful. And I just don't want us in 5 years to go, we need another, $5-6 million, we have to replace all the cameras again. So how are we talking about continuing this security investment that we're making so that we're not knocked out by it 5 years from now?
Well, I think this is no different than any other investment you make, because like even when you build a school, you have ongoing maintenance. But we're going to go forward with our 10-year utilization and looking at our needs. And I think the district is always going to be in that. And then be it that you do a sinking fund or issue bonds or whatever, there's always going to be funding sources you would tap. The bigger thing is to just have a plan. Like,
Okay.
And I think the thing is too, is we'll probably not replace them all at once. Probably, some will only last 5 years, some last 10 years. Well, it would be an ongoing replacement, no different than computers or anything else.
Okay, I just want to have that in our conversation, because this is a big chunk of change, and it was
Oh,
a big
yeah.
jump from our initial, so we need to be cognizant of our times and everything else. And again, you all do a wonderful job about that, so I just want to be sure of that. Superintendent Mary, you touched on installation time frame. Can you be specific? How long is it going to take to do this? Can you give us a more specific idea?
Yeah, so Bill, can you kind of walk us through what this looks like?
There's a timeline in the packet, yeah. There was.
Oh, Doug.
So the schedule, obviously, we're dealing with many buildings. So the way the schedule is put together is that during the school year, the 2018-19 school year, the contractors will be working on a second shift basis with emphasis on the camera systems and also the card access, okay? So we'll get that going. That will really be a September through a May process. So each building will kind of be being brought up, and I think we've got some further conversations with administration as to what buildings go first. Do we start the high schools and work down, or do we start the middle schools and go up, since the high schools already have some form of security cameras at this point. So during the school year will be the card access and the cameras, with the the interruption that it will take for the Sally ports. The Sally port work will be done during the summer of 2019, so next year.
Excuse me a
Okay, and then
moment.
that will complete everything by September
Liz,
of 2019.
Could you go to page 91 of the packet, please? Or Nick, sorry.
Is this it?
So it's 91 of 177.
Oh, I see, okay. 22 of our Super, okay. I think it's important for.
Yeah, and I think the page that they're looking for is kind of the preliminary milestone schedule that we had with the bid documents for the contractors to look at. I know that Siemens is interested in getting their contract. They've certainly got some submittal process to make sure that cameras are the right cameras. There's some system type things, and as far as hooking into the district server and that type of thing that have to be designed and programmed. So that'll be a lot of what this summer's work is getting kind of that behind the scenes stuff taken care of so that we can start the installations in either late August or early September.
Terrific. We've had so many comments from the community, the urgency of this.
Yep.
I think it's really helpful to hear you kind of talk through the
There it is
timeline.
there.
So, for those, it is there indeed. Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Other questions? I actually have a question. I'm wondering about the software that the cameras will have, and other software that the schools may be utilizing. There are systems that we talked about at the committee meeting where many of us from the district and from the law enforcement and some community members met to discuss safety and security. And so there's systems that other schools and municipalities have where there's like an automatic alarm that can go to police or fire. And I'm wondering if we've thought about if the software would be compatible. Do we know anything about that? I want to make sure that we have all our options open. So
Our options are open. Right now, what happened is we put bids out, and they were separate for camera companies and the door access companies. The low bid contractor is Avigilon. They have both door access and camera card system, or camera systems. It's one software package. Avigilon cameras, the door hardware, it's all cohesive. Now, everything within that package can be programmed by the district. If a camera went off, that can be programmed to be texted to Kurt. It can program to text to the police chief. You can program these systems or that particular system in any fashion that you want. So, as Ms. Merritt had mentioned, you can set these up for facial recognition. You can set it up for, looking for someone with clothing. But you can program this system to do whatever you wish. Part of the questions that we had during the F&O were the card readers, what you can do with the card reader. You can limit, everybody's going to get a new card reader in the district. That card per person can be specifically dedicated to that person, so they can only have access to a building for 5 minutes on a certain day, or an hour here, an hour there. It can be completely programmed, similar to what your question was. If you want to have a text go out because we've got people in the building that go out to police, fire, or it just goes out to Kurt, it can be customized in that fashion. So the software allows the district to do just about anything from a security standpoint, notify whomever they wish.
And a piece also I think is important when we were talking before. I think at one point we were discussing internet-based, but now with being software-based, as you said, you can identify or limit the access. You can show who's been on and for how long and for what reasons.
And the nice thing is, Mark has set this up to dedicate a fiber pathway that strictly runs the camera systems back to, they're going to set up this head-end room at Liberty.
Mm-hmm.
So the fiber is going to be dedicated to the camera system, which won't be carrying data for any of the other district functions. So that also adds a level of security that people will only be able to access it if they have their passcodes and what have you. So it's another level of security. So it's not on the general district's fiber network. It's a separate system altogether.
Yep, I saw that. That's good. Any other questions on this? Okay. So we will move on to our next item, which is consider approval of award contracts for bid package 14, Salem High School Life Skills Classroom Upgrades. It's another first reading. So, do you want to just take us?
Yes, initially on March 13th, we brought this to the board to approve the initiation of this bid package number 14, and this includes the upgrades to the life skills classroom. It's located at Salem High School. The classroom will be utilized for life skills studies. The current room configuration does not meet code requirements necessary for culinary arts. Therefore, the program must be revised and restricted to a typical home economics type program. And this will bring the room into compliance and ready for use.
Are there questions on this?
We've talked about fixing the room up previously.
Yes. Okay. Then let's move on to our next item, which is consider approval of proposed upgrades to the Salem High School kitchen, proposed air conditioning upgrades, another first reading.
Yes, what we're proposing is air conditioning upgrades. As you recall, the summer work for last summer was upgrading the Salem kitchen, all the venting, and it's also the culinary arts and the Salem kitchen. It's twofold. I believe my resolution is wrong. Yeah, I don't know what this one is. Okay, let me go here. So, yeah, I know someone made this book, but it's not the right ones. So what it is it's both the Salem kitchen and the culinary arts. And over last summer, what we did was improve it, put all new venting and fans and ventilation in. In the past, someone had jerry-rigged ventilation and forced air into the culinary and the Salem kitchen, making it the airflow and vent. It wasn't to code, and when all of the replacements were done in Salem, they were done to code. The temperatures rose. It's almost really, some of the women felt ill due to the extreme heat. So what we're proposing is putting, and they're just separate air conditioning units throughout the Salem kitchen and the culinary arts where the children are, the kids, the students are, to bring the air temperature down.
Does anybody have any questions? Okay. Then we will continue to move on. Next item is consider approval of resolution to upgrade the serving area in the Canton High School cafeteria. That's another first reading.
Okay. Yes, and I think I'm going to have Kristen come up and speak to this. If you wouldn't mind.
Good evening. So as we've worked through this the last several years, we've made some changes at the park at the different locations of Salem and Plymouth. And we've always struggled with Canton because of the setup. It's like a square box that you can only rearrange it so many times. And with that, as we've grown our meals and grown our participation, it's also been a topic of we like to have consistency so that at any location I go to as a student, I get the same menu and the same selections. And with our current setup there, it kind of is a struggle. It is a struggle on a daily basis to have that equity piece play into it. The other thing that happens is we have really, with their menu changes and different things offered at the other two locations, our students go to those. So we don't optimize our seating area or anything at Canton. So that can also cause overflow issues. And we really need to make sure that we equalize that, for many different reasons. But for me, it really comes down to one of the things I've strived is that everything is equal up there, that we can offer that for all the kids at all the locations. And currently it's a struggle to do that. And we've rearranged it, I can't tell you how many times, to the point where I've been told not to move another box because the electrical's in the floor and it's everywhere. And there's no way to really do the correct thing or the right thing unless we really start from ground zero and do it. So I don't think it's been touched since it was built, if that is any consolation. So, any questions?
Questions?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And next up is consider approval of resolution for the Plymouth High School JV track replacement project, another first reading.
Yes, what we're recommending is JV track replacement. On the resolution, the athletic directors have helped outline what the rationale is for this. Basically, we do need a track. We're currently not able to use it. We've replaced it numerous times. But if there's any questions, I guess I'll let some of the experts answer, unless someone else wants to talk about the programming.
Okay, this is coming out of the 2015 bond project?
Yes.
Does anybody have any questions? I have a question on it's page 123 of the packet. It says that there's option 1 and option 2. So option 1 is complete removal and replacement of track. And then option 2 is replace natural turf with new synthetic turf field. But am I reading it correctly that option 2 also includes option 1?
No. You have to add both of the numbers together.
Right.
So down at the bottom, the way we did this is you can replace the track, which is in poor shape, without doing the synthetic field. Part of our discussions with the athletic directors and with the campus was that they need another synthetic field. So part of what we were trying to show here is if you put the synthetic field within the track and you do it all at once, that's the time frame to do it. You've already had the stadium, you've got the grandstands, and you've got the concessions. The desire to have the synthetic turf at that time is there. So option 1 was replace the track. Option
Right.
2 is to add the
turf.
The turf.
Okay, but there's a total at the bottom which includes both of them. So basically, there's like the third option, which is to do both.
Right.
To do both.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, that's
Then that's
what I was
recommendation.
confused about, was that total was the total of the 2 options.
I see.
That's the
Okay.
recommendation, yeah.
Okay.
is to do both.
So the recommendation is to do both options.
Correct.
While they're
Okay.
tearing up the track,
Okay, just wanted to be clear on that.
fix the field.
Okay. And next we have consider approval of resolution to approve project to expand parking lot at Byrd Elementary School, another first reading.
Yes, and this has been talked about for a long time. They're not able to park all of the teachers and the parents that come to drop off the children. Even in the morning, it's quite congested. Through our budget transformation process, we went through and we prioritized what was to be utilized out of the general fund, and there were a lot of capital items. And we also had them then prioritize what they felt were the capital items that they would want to have done first. And this came to the top of the list, and all their peers voted for it. So that's why we bring to you to expand the parking lot. There's details behind showing you sort of where it would be and how it would flow. At F&O, what we talked about is the drop-off. So that would be taken into consideration with the design, the traffic flow and all. So this is just asking you for permission to initiate the design phase, and then the bid would be brought back with the design.
They used to have some portables sitting back in that spot that they want to make into the parking.
It's a 20-car expansion.
So that they're not really losing playfield
Can you
because they
bring up
haven't
the
used it
design?
as playfield.
It's the third
And I
page.
know that this project originally was brought to us, the concern, a few years back when we were already doing parking lot conversations, and so we saw the importance of
orange
it.
that
We
we
have a
need to do.
stormwater issue, so we weren't able to address that at that time, but this would be, this would allow for, and you see an accounting for, or a placeholder for stormwater.
There's an
here in-
allowance.
An allowance.
In case.
So are there questions on this? More discussion? So am I understanding what was said correctly, that this is, the resolution would allow the district to go out for bid on this?
Well, it would allow us to, we always ask you if we can initiate the project, and then
Right.
what we do is we go out for design and bid. And then we bring it back to you for approval, like we are the security, for the final approval before we go forward.
Okay,
All of
because
these are pretty much
I
the
think
initiation.
that we would want the resolution to be written so that it reflects that, because right now it's giving approval to expand the parking lot.
Okay, I think they all read, okay, I can check the wording.
Okay.
Yeah, it does.
Really, they all
Yeah.
sort of read that way, but I can change the wording if you would like.
What is currently in that area? Is it just empty, or
Yeah.
it's where the portables were?
Portables have been removed, and it really just goes into the playground right now.
Okay. Is it part of the playground right now, or no?
Yes. There's a fence, and it goes into the playground, doesn't it, Mike?
Yeah, there's a fence where the new parking expansion begins, and then the 10 spots, the lower half of the screen there are part of the asphalt site pad. The other 10 spots are where the portables set. So that was just a grassy area that didn't have any play structures or anything on it, so.
Okay, but it would take part of the asphalt play area.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Next up is consider approval of resolution to renew TDS Telecommunication Corp. phone service contract. It's a first reading.
Yes, so this is a resolution to renew TDS phone service contract. Wayne County RESA released a consortium RFP for voice telecom services that came back. This was negotiated by our technology department, and these are better rates, more economical, and we wouldn't have to make a change. We're just asking to renew with the same company we're with.
Are there questions on this?
There's a list in here.
Yes.
I'm trying to find the page.
It's page 160.
Okay. That has the schools on it, but
And
it
the-
is missing,
Yes, it's missing Salem and Workman.
they're not on there.
Do you know,
So we apologize for that omission. The total does reflect those two
Oh, okay.
schools, and we can get the specific kind of estimated cost for those two schools as well.
Just thought maybe they had something different.
No, we apologize for that.
Okay. Yeah, that would be good to have. Okay, and next up is consider approval for, wait, there weren't any more questions, were there? Sorry. Okay, next up is consider approval of resolution for PSEP Verizon easement, first reading.
Yes, and it's exactly what it is, a resolution for PSEP Verizon easement. I would let Mike speak to this exactly where it is. It has to do with our cell towers.
This is just for Verizon to upgrade equipment that's on the tower. They had originally asked for an easement that paralleled both sides of the driveway that come in off of Canton Center Road and go past our soccer field and back towards the grandstand and past the auto shop. That might have limited us in what we could do in the future with their cable there, so we've asked them and got their approval to move that down to the far south side of the property line, south of the soccer field and the end zone of the stadium, because, you know, virtually there's nothing we're probably ever going to do there. So it's just for them to upgrade the equipment on the tower.
Okay, questions, discussion? So, Mike, is this this is moving the easement that they currently have?
I'm not sure where the existing one was. I wasn't part of that particular project, but they had asked for an additional easement along the driveway. And so we thought there'd be a good chance that we might put lighting in there, or, you know, different parking configuration or something that could involve earthwork, and then we'd be handicapped by that easement. So we've asked them to move it down to the south side of the property line.
Okay.
extreme south.
Okay.
So it's a straight shot back off the road and over to the tower.
Okay. Next up is consider approval of resolution to replace first generation iPad minis. It's a first reading.
Yes, and again, this is a resolution to replace, is to purchase 886 generation iPads from Apple for a total of $552,720. And it'll be using the 2015 Series 2 bond funds.
Okay. Any questions? Discussion? I don't have any questions. Next up, we are at item F, which is action items and discussion. The first action item is 1806-154. Consider approval of tentative agreement with the Plymouth Congress of Administrators. It's a first and final reading. Can I have a motion on this, please?
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the action item 1806-154, consider approval of tentative agreement with the Plymouth Congress of Administrators, first and final reading.
Support.
Okay. The motion was made by Member Brooks and supported by Member Sidhu. Are there questions on this? Discussion? I just want to thank the Plymouth Congress of Administrators for collaborating with us. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Next, we have another action item, 1806-155. Consider approval of tentative agreement with the Plymouth Canton Association of Office Personnel. Of Education Office Personnel. I want to make sure I get it right. Local 1672. It's a first and final reading. Could I have a motion on this, please?
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion on action item 1806-155 to consider approval of the tentative agreement with the Plymouth Canton Association of Education Office Personnel, Local 6172, first and final reading.
Support.
Motion was made by Member Brooks and supported by Member Mullen. Discussion? Okay. And I want to thank our office personnel also for a nice collaboration.
We see 2 hours in, we still have representatives of our team right here.
They are.
So we definitely, I think as we look at both teams tonight, it's so important as we go through negotiations with our IBB process. It's difficult to have conversations because when we talk about value and all of the work, especially with our office personnel, those are the true administrators of the building. We all know they keep us together. And so just coming and looking at the issues through both lens, you're able to see the perspective and see common interest. And I think through these agreements, although everybody's not able to get exactly what they want, you come to a good contract, right? Some issues that had to take place in the past when we were really lean financially. And so I think that as it really just shows the commitment as we move forward from our district. We do value our employees and the work that they do. So we appreciate you hanging in here for the last 2 hours with us. I know that this was important work tonight, so thank you. Thank you.
Yes. And I know that they're our first line of defense and also our, well, they are. I mean, if you think about it.
Definitely listen as we're making security conversations too.
Yeah.
That buzzer.
Yeah, exactly. But also a wealth of information. So if you want to know anything about what's going on in a school or in the district even, they will have answers. Okay, so all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Okay. Next up, we are at the point in the agenda that says superintendent's year-end evaluation. So I wanted to make a statement. On Thursday, June 21st, the Board of Education met to conduct the annual evaluation of the superintendent. I am pleased to state that Ms. Merritt received an overall score of 4, which is highly effective. The board appreciates the collaboration with Ms. Merritt as a team of 8 and look forward to continuing this in the future.
I would love to just thank the board as a team of 8. We've done some tremendous work together. You've heard me say from the beginning, this job for me is like catching lightning in a bottle, to be able to lead the team. We chose for my family to educate our own kids. An amazing group of administrators around this table, staff that are in this room and throughout our district, just providing the most high quality educational experience for all students. So I just really appreciate this opportunity that you've given me to be a part of such an amazing team. And I love, evaluation times for me are not stressful because it really gives you the time to pause and reflect on your body of work. And we have such amazing stories to tell, and the success stories from each. It truly does take a village. So thank everybody in the room, and I'm just looking forward to where we're going to take this district. We are going to be number 1, without a doubt. So thank you. And I have to applaud the board as well as we look through our K-12 survey. This is intentional work that you have done to really just focus on being positive and to listen to the voice of the community as you make your important decisions around budget and things of that nature. So just appreciate that work and continue to grow together. So thank you.
Okay, and I think now we're at our follow-up board questions. Pretty sure we still have outstanding the data on the exit survey. Is that correct?
Did we do that? I think we did that in the
Did we
last
do
board
that?
notes.
Did
Yes.
we? Okay. I need to look at them again. And then from June 12th, the debt millage information we did receive, and the board data from the community survey we did receive.
Did we clear the list of questions for the year?
Well,
we have new ones, right?
We might have a few new ones. I don't know if this is a question, but just let's make sure that we get the resolution updated. And I know Member McCoyne has questions that are outstanding, but I know you will get to those. So they're not coming out of this board meeting. Are there any questions from this evening that I missed?
Taking over for Patrick. He's
No.
not here. Gotta ask him
Okay.
questions.
I think we did clear it. We cleared our list.
That's the rule.
Okay. So now we're at adjournment. So if anybody would like to adjourn, please make a motion. Member Crouch, I'm looking at you.
Madam President, I'll make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
Support.
Okay. The motion was made by Member Sudu and supported by Member Crouch. Got her to actually support a motion tonight. All in favor of discussing this? No, sorry. All in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion passes 6-0. We are now adjourned.